Good morning, traders from whichever side of the country world you're watching me from. Welcome to today's morning market call. My name is Ian Joseph, market analyst at HFM, and today is a very interesting day. Now, a quick disclaimer before we do begin. The information herein is only meant for educational and informative purposes only. None of it should be construed as investment advice. Trading the financial markets do carry a degree of risk, but do not be worried. I'm here to help you look at the markets the right way. We do have Coach Hesbon. Welcome for the Bingi Photography. Welcome to the chat. We have, are you guys having a meeting at Kilifi Titanic Hotel? Yes, we are going to have that meeting. Is going to start today. Now, the highlight of the day, whereby news just in, the United States government has just shut down. Very interesting. For us traders, this is good because it provides us with opportunities to trade the markets, okay? Now, we are going to start with what this is, but before we go over there, today is the 1st of October, and I want to welcome you officially into the final quarter of 2025. We have only 3 months remaining for the month, including this month, whereby we just have this month, next month, and finally December, then we conclude 2025, and we have started on a bang, whereby Justin, once again, the United States government has shut down. What does this mean for us as traders? Remember, for traders, we do anticipate volatility. Whenever there's uncertainty in the markets, this is an opportunity for us to go make a dollar. Okay, now we are going to start with what this means for us. But before we go there, we have just started the new virtual to real demo contest, whereby today is the 1st of October, meaning this contest is going to start again, whereby, very interesting, number one is going to walk home with $500 credited to the account. Number two is going to walk home with $300 trading bonus. Number three is going to walk home with $100 trading bonus. Now, this is demo contest, virtual to real, whereby you have an opportunity to trade on the demo, and if you do happen to be on the leaderboard, there's a high likelihood you can't be on the leaderboard, whereby look at August's first winner. We had Stephen Kware, who had a total gain of 3,220%. Number two, we had Ian Kiplagat, who had a total gain of 2,199%. Number three, we had Boniface Murithi with a total gain of 2,083. Right now, the leaderboard is being updated. Belta Kitaka is up 85.61%. Then we have Kennedy at number 10 with 14.91%. Remember, this has just began today, meaning there's an opportunity for you to make money. Now, we do have the pure gold giveaway, and we have just concluded round one of Battle of the Elite. Stay tuned. You are going to have more for you in store. We do have 7 days for the pure gold giveaway, whereby you have a chance to win 10 grams of pure gold. Now, moving over to the morning market call, whereby I can see Little King about that price had already played in. Now, did the smart money go all in, partially or fully? We are going to look at that in just a few moments' time, Mr. Little Kinu, whereby, once again, the United States government has shut down. Now, what does this mean? Today, earlier in the morning, October 1st, after Congress failed to pass funding legislation, the markets did shut down for the first time since 2018, 2019. And this is very interesting because this is the third time under the President Trump administration that we are seeing the government shutting down. Now, why did this happen? The main dispute was about the health care subsidies tied to the Affordable Care Act, or the ACA as it's known, as Democrats are demanding those subsidies to be preserved or restored, while Republicans want a simpler, clean funding bill without those provisions. Very interesting. Republicans do control a majority of the Senate, but they do lack 60 votes to pass the spending legislation without some Democratic support. Now, the Trump administration did direct agencies to prepare for mass layoffs beyond standard furloughs, escalating the stakes. Now, what remains open currently at the moment? Essential services, life or death, safety, national security continue, though with the limited staffing and potential delays. Now, non-essential services are suspended. Many agencies will close public-facing operations, delay regulatory actions, or suspend grant and contract activities. Now, some of the agencies, although a large share of their staff, 41%, which include healthcare and human service, may be furloughed. The Federal Aviation Administration is going to lay off 11,000 employees while retaining enough staffing to keep flights operating, but under massive strain. Now, tariff collections via customs will continue. What are some of the impacts and risks? We are looking at a potential of 750,000 federal employees who could go without unpaid work. That's quite significant. Almost 750,000 federal employees. Paychecks could be delayed, though by law, historically, employees are often paid retroactively once funding is restored. Meaning there's going to be a delay, but there's a high likelihood this is going to affect the markets in a massive scale if the shutdown does continue. Now, disruptions to regulatory approvals processes, federal research, public health programs, and grant funding are likely to also be disrupted. Now, the travel industry could be suffer, slower permit and certification processes, airport delays, etc. The longer the shutdown does last once again, the greater the drag on economic growth and public confidence. Now, today is 1st of October. We do have NFP coming out, which was supposed to come out later on this week. But as a result of this, if it does continue with the shutdown, there's a high likelihood you are not going to have NFP on Friday. Very interesting to see how this is going to play out. As a trader, we have little kino. Okay, the question is the government going to resume quickly, or we need to continue to shut down using last shutdown on December, January? So what's the call? What's the call? That's a beautiful question. Kino, as a trader, we react to volatility. This provides us with the opportunity of the markets moving aggressively. As a trader, you would want to look at what could be affected. Now, when you look at this, it's only the Fed system that's going to be affected, whereby the government, the federal employees to be exact. But when you look at private entities, they're not going to be affected. Now, when you look at the United States of America, the private entity constitutes of a larger portion of the GDP. Okay? Yes, we are looking at the government currently at the moment, but this is going to affect the government aspect of how the country is being run. It's not going to affect the private entities. Companies like, let's say, for example, NVIDIA are not going to be hugely affected because they are a private entity. But this could affect consumers in the near future, because we are looking at 750,000 jobs at stake currently at the moment. Now, looking at this article from Al Jazeera, the last-ditch efforts by lawmakers to pass a spending bill did fail. Now, it's fighting between the Democrats and Republicans, okay, in the U.S. Senate as they rejected rival stopgap proposals. Now, while the U.S. government has partially ceased operations in more than a dozen times since 1980, President Trump threats to use the funding lapse to dramatically reduce the size of the public sector that have raised the prospect of greater disruption than in the past. Speaking to reporters at the White House on Tuesday, which was yesterday, Trump warned that he could use the shutdown to take actions that are bad for Democrats. Interesting. We can do things, and he quotes, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out. 750,000 once again. Cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they do like, adding that a lot of good, in quotes, a lot of good can come from government shutdowns. Now, this was our guy yesterday, whereby he was speaking at Virginia. Now, the shutdown, the first such funding lapse since 2018, means that the government services deemed non-essential will hold, including keyword here, including the publication of key economic data. What key economic data were we looking at this week? The non-farm payrolls. If this does persist, there's a high likelihood on Friday we are not going to receive NFP data. Very interesting. If this does persist, it means in the near future, there's a high likelihood we are not going to get inflationary numbers. Now, this is going to be interesting. We have Deno. Hello, is this seminar today? Because we are told that the HFM did not book any reservation today. Have they? Interesting, Deno. Interesting. We'll look into that in just a moment's time. I'm in Nairobi currently at the moment, but we're going to follow up on that. Now, essential workers such as law enforcement officers, military personnel, and air traffic controllers will remain on the job, but will go without pay for the duration of the shutdown. Now, social security workers and food assistants will be continuing to pay out, while hundreds of thousands of federal employees were placed on temporary leave and received back pay upon returning to work during previous shutdown. Now, Trump has threatened to use the current funding lapse to fire a lot of people. My Lord, and they are Democrats. They are going to be Democrats. Whoa. Yes, you can say that again. Now, once again, we want to look into the charts because today when you look at the economic calendar, starting off just to touch on what has happened during Asian session, we had building permits, then we go over and switch over to the charts. Look at how this could provide us with opportunities of looking at probabilities in the markets. We did have building permits coming out for the New Zealand dollar at exactly 45 minutes after midnight. This is for the New Zealand dollar, whereby the previous number was 5.3. The actual number came out at 5.8. Now, housing usually has a very big impact because it creates a ripple effect into the markets, whereby as a result of the sale of new houses, as a result of building permits being erected, there are jobs that are going to be created. There are going to be furniture that is going to be bought. There are going to be brokers. There are going to be engineers that are going to be paid. Now, when the building permits usually comes out better than anticipated, it means that in the near future, we do anticipate the currency to do well. Now, we did have Tanker Large Manufacturing Index for Q3, whereby it did come out lesser than anticipated. The previous number was 13. It did come out higher than the previous number, but lower than the forecast, whereby the actual number came in at 14. Very interesting to note how the Japanese yen is going to be affected currently at the moment. Now, the Tankan Large Manufacturing Index released by the BOJ presents overall business conditions of the large manufacturing companies in Japan. It is an indicator of Japanese economy as Japan relies heavily on the manufacturing sector, which leads to growth for export-oriented economy. We are going to look at JPY in just a few moments' time. We have started seeing the markets move to the upper side. Gold is now currently very, very looking positive at the moment, but you're not going to have a lot of data towards the end of the day, except for the harmonized index of CPI data for the year-on-year release for the Eurozone consolidated, whereby we are looking at inflationary numbers being around 2.3% currently at the moment. Now, this is whereby we want to pay focus. Let me pull up my chart here. This is MetaTrader, and I'm looking at gold on the 30-minute time frame. Let me switch over to the 1-hour time frame. And yesterday we did see the markets react very interestingly, whereby prices did open, pushed to the upper side. We had massive correction to the downside. Then the monthly candle did close on this candlestick. Now remember, today is 1st of October, meaning today is the start of the monthly candle, and we are receiving a lot of data, especially for, once again, for those who are joining me right now, currently at the moment, the United States government has just shut down. What is this going to have an impact on assets like gold? Now, remember, gold is a safe haven. Gold thrives on an uncertainty in the markets. If there's going to be a push and pull in the market, usually whenever there's fear in the markets, gold usually moves to the upper side. Whenever there's greed in the markets, usually gold moves to the downside. Now we are looking at the government shutting down. This is a lot of jobs that we are talking about here. Over 750,000 people's livelihoods are at stake. We are looking at healthcare being affected. We are looking at the transportation sector being affected. A lot of things could be affected if this shutdown does continue. And currently at the moment, Democrats and Republicans are not on the same table. Now, if this does persist, could we see gold moving to all-time highs? Now, looking at it currently at the moment, gold did break the all-time highs during Asian session today. If I can go to the 4-hour time frame here, as you can see, let me go to the daily perspective just to get an overall direction of where we are currently at the market. Now, today at exactly, let me pull up my crosshair so that we can identify this candlestick here. This one particular candlestick did break to the upper side, going to $3,874 an ounce today, earlier during Asian session. Now, ever since Asian did open, the markets have consolidating. And could we see a breakout to the upper side? We're having a little kiddo. Okay, collecting data on huge safe havens. Inflows, gold usually makes a correction before it buys. So where do we board the bus? A very interesting question. Yeah, for gold to move to the upper side, it first has to generate and grab that liquidity. For us as traders, you would want to react, okay, Mr. Kinu, whereby you would want to react to price action as it unfolds. Now, I'm sorry I cannot tell you where to buy or sell, but I can only speculate where the markets will be headed to. Looking at the consolidation that we do have currently at the market, if we do break these highs, there's a high possibility. If we do break to the upper side and close well above the highs that was formed during Asian session today, there's a high likelihood prices will continue moving to the upper side. Hello, Victoria. Whereby, once again, as Kinu has mentioned, there's a high likelihood prices will first come down, grab liquidity, engineer that liquidity, grab that liquidity, and move to the upper side. Now, looking at it currently at the moment, these region that we are at the moment, these highs and these lows could be very, very important for us as traders, whereby what will be the movement of US oil? We are going to look at that in just a moment's time. But looking at it, safe havens, could this mean that gold will potentially move to all-time highs? Yes, there's a very high likelihood. If this does persist and there is not going to be any breakthrough in the markets currently at the moment. Now, that is going to be it on gold. If we do break 38, we are looking at 38.75 region. If you do break to the upper side, where could be the next likely target? Now, whenever you're looking at gold currently at the moment, the ceiling has been broken. Now, where could be the next target? This is whereby you would want to look at round numbers. We are currently at 38.70 something region on gold. If we do break that region, then psychologically speaking, the next number will be 3,900. So $3,900 an ounce will be the next psychological level, which is quite achievable. Looking at it, this is a very good range to trade, almost 260 pips in the markets. On gold, that's very beautiful. Kinu, those zones are exactly marked on my chart. Yes, like-mindeds do think alike, okay? We are looking at 260 pips to the upper side. If you do break 3,900, the next target could be 3,400, which once again is very doable on gold if we do have this persist in the markets currently at the moment. So we're looking at 3,800, then 3,900 region. Let me highlight 3,900. Okay, I'm losing at 3,900. I'm looking at a bit of light here. Okay. After 3,900, we might look at 4,000, which is not that far off. If you look at gold, where we've come from, 4,000 is a very high likely target in the market. Okay, quite a significant range for us to trade from where prices are currently at the moment to 4,000, which once again is a psychological level. Now, when you look at gold, historically speaking, we did stay. The period between 2,000 and 3,000 did lag quite significantly compared to breaking from 3,000 to where we are currently at the moment. Now, this is almost 1,316 pips to the upper side. Very interesting. Could this be a potential move to the upper side, if at all what is happening currently in the moment continues to persist? Now, when you're looking at gold, gold is a safe haven, meaning whenever there's uncertainty in the markets, investors usually run off to the safe havens. Could, once again, we see prices move aggressively to the upper side if we do break 38.75 region, which is going to be a very, very decisive factor for us as traders, whereby once again prices was here during Asian session at exactly 5 a.m. in the morning, and this was even before the government did shut down. Now, looking at silver, silver is also considered a safe haven apart from gold, whereby ever since the day did begin, we had massive momentum to the upper side. Prices breaking above the most recent region of resistance that we did have. Prices retraced back into the downside and to exactly where the markets did close on the daily candlestick today. The opening price of the daily candle, prices retraced into that region. Currently at the moment, it is London open, and we are seeing signs of buyers coming into the markets. Could we see silver also move to the upper side? If we do break these highs around $47.5 an ounce, there's a high likelihood I would want to see prices continue moving further to the upper side. Now, silver, looking at it currently at the moment, this is only less than 45 pips away. Quite significant, quite interesting, whereby we could tap into that region in just a few moments' time. Now, there was a question about USD JPY, if I'm not wrong. US oil it was. Let's look at oil. What could happen in terms of oil? Now, oil is a private entity. It moves by supply and demand. If the government does shut down, yes, OPEC could be affected. But could we see prices being affected that heavily? Let's see how price action currently at the moment does play out. Now, looking at oil, where we have come from, on the 1 hour time frame, we have been moving to the downside. But last week we did rally to the upper side, and we are heading into a period of supply and demand whereby towards winter, there's usually a higher uptake of oil usage in the United States of America. Once again, whereby as it gets cold, usually more oil is going to be used to heat up their homes. Now, looking at it from what is happening in geopolitical tensions between Russia and Ukraine, Ukraine have been attacking a lot of the oil reserves and the oil processing regions in Russia currently at the moment. And we did see Russia imply that they are going to increase or to extend the ban of oil exports up to December. This is going to be very interesting, but looking at it, we did have a breakout to the upper side. Could this be a retest coming back down into this region of interest, whereby this was our choke that we did have, and prices are currently trading in between that region. At the moment, we are trading above the opening price of October 1st, which once again is the start of the monthly candlestick. If we do get signs of more buyers coming into the markets, I would want to look at the precious commodity, black gold, moving even potentially to $66.57 a barrel, which is quite achievable. Looking at it, prices have retraced in less than 72 hours from these highs to where we are currently at the moment, less than 60 hours or so of trading, whereby could we see prices further moving to the upper side if the markets are going to digest the data that is currently happening at the moment negatively. Now, I've just started a segment whereby I would want you to engage with me. Which are some of the assets that you would want me to look into? I do have a lot of assets on my chart. A lot of them I do have on my chart. Kindly engage with me. What do you want me to look at? Let's move over to indices, whereby we are going to start with US 500. Now, the S&P 500 has digested this data negatively. Why? Because once again, if the government is going to have uncertainty, these companies could take a hit. Why? Because they do depend on the regulations of the government in terms of taxes, in terms of imports. When you look at when there were tariffs being implied by the United States of America to China, we did see the government intervening, and they did have solutions as a result of that. And we did see Nvidia move to the upper side quite aggressively. Ever since the markets did open today, the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the United States of America, has moved almost 0.6% from the opening day. Very interesting. We'll want to look at how price action is going to play out in the near future, whereby at the moment we do have these highs forming. This high failed to break this high, and we would want to see prices continuing further to the downside if at all the tensions do persist currently at the moment. Now, 21 Forrester wants us to look at GBP USD. Where are you, darling? Here you are. Now, the British pound has already started moving to the upper side. Very interesting, whereby we did have massive momentum to the downside, where prices was making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower high. Very interesting thing to note. Look at how yesterday consolidated massively. We had this one candlestick during New York session at exactly 1600 hours, whereby we had this candlestick break yesterday's. Now, this would have been 29th of September, whereby this would have been Monday's low. It did break Monday's New York low, closed significantly above that region. Now, when prices opened today during Asian session, we had candlesticks printing side by side. Then at exactly that moment whereby the US government did shut down, which was 7 a.m. Local time, local Nairobi time, we did see markets, the British pound against the USD, move quite significantly to the upper side, almost 0.3%. That's almost 40 pips in less than 4 hours of trading. And looking at it currently at the moment, we are trading above the highs that was formed yesterday during New York session. If we do have candlesticks that close well above this region, I would want to look at more long opportunities on the British pound against the United States dollar. As you can see right now on my chart list, there's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of volatility happening in the markets right now. For you as a trader, risk management is going to be very important, okay? Because you will want to sustain the waves that do come with the volatility, you would want to hold at least the drawdown if there is going to be drawdown. Once again, risk management is going to be very important. Now we do have Laboy, GE, the British pound against the European dollar. I don't have it in my chart. Let me have. So GBP euro. Do I have it in my chart? So it's euro GBP. Yeah. Okay, so the euro against the British pound currently at the moment. Now, whenever you're trading the euro against the British pound, these assets are positively correlated, meaning if there is no fundamental drivers or large drivers in the markets, these markets usually consolidate quite a bit. Now, looking at it for the past ever since 23rd of last month, for the past 153 hours, prices has been consolidating around these lows and around these highs. For you as a trader, this is a good opportunity for you to look at opportunities if it does break out to the upper side or to the lower side. Now, there are strategies that can help you look at trading opportunities whenever prices are consolidating. But if you want to capture the trend, this is an opportunity for you to sit back and wait. If you do break to the upper side, you'll want to look at more long opportunities. If you do break to the downside, you'll want to look at more short opportunities. Now, yesterday we did have President Lagarde releasing a speech. And the Eurozone currently at the moment is at a very critical point in terms of political instability. We just did see France also appoint a new prime minister into place. We have been seeing numbers in Germany come out lesser than anticipated, especially in the manufacturing sector. And we would want to look at oncoming data. What does the European Central Bank have to say? What will the MPC have to say about interest rates? We did see they are going to hold the interest rates where they are currently at the moment in terms of the British pound. Looking at the data that is going to be oncoming, and we would also want to look at how this could affect. When you're looking at Europe, let's say, for example, the government does shut down. When you look at the goods and services that are produced in Europe, the United States is a major consumer of these products that they do produce. If there's going to be uncertainty, if the government is going to shut down, we are going to see a lot of things happening, especially with the importation sector in the United States of America. When you look at Japan also, Japan could be affected. And we did see the most recent statement from Bank of Japan, whereby one of the key highlights that they did mention severally was they would want to look at other economies, other major economies, how they do perform. When you look at a country like Japan, they are net exporters, meaning the car in front of you, there's a high likelihood is always a Toyota. If they do produce Toyotas and there's uncertainty in other markets, they have the products, but they don't have the markets where they're going to sell it to, and this could affect a very, very huge chunk of the markets currently at the moment. Now, there was an inquiry about US 100, which is the NASDAQ, which is the top. It's a tech-heavy index currently at the moment. Once again, looking at it at the moment, we did have a change of character whereby prices was rallying to the upper side. Now, this was last week, No, the day. This was the previous week, whereby on the 23rd of last month, but Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, when he released his speech, he did mention that stocks could be highly valued. Overvalued was the right term that he used. Now, this came from the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. And as a result of that, we did see markets move to the downside. The prices retraced to form a high, but this high failed to break the most recent high. If you look at the NASDAQ on a higher perspective, NASDAQ is at all-time highs currently at the moment. And when Jerome Powell did mention about stocks being highly valued or overvalued, we did see investors starting to offload a lot of positions. We did have a short-term retracement on this particular region, but this high still failed to break the high. Exactly the moment Jerome Powell started his speech was at this candle, and prices has never been to that region ever since. We did have prices retracing, whereby we did have candlesticks printing side by side consolidation. The markets did range, but looking at today, ever since the market did open, the prices have been moving further to the downside. And we'll want to look at oncoming data. If this does persist, there's a high likelihood we might take out 24,217 region in the near future. If there are no questions currently at the moment, that's going to conclude it for me on the morning market call. Once again, in today's trading, risk management is going to be very crucial. Okay, if you don't know how to calculate risk management, I would want you to go over. Let me open this new tab for you. There is a tool on the HFM website called the risk percentage calculator. Just write risk percentage calculator HFM. This tool will help you understand the lot size that you need to use. Specify your opening price, specify your stop loss, okay? If you want to trade, let's say, for example, Forex, indicate Forex. Where's Forex? Here. If you want to trade GBP USD, pick up GBP USD. Highlight the entry point. You need to know where you're going to get out of the trade if it does not go in your favor, okay? Then specify your stop loss. Then hit calculate. It's going to tell you the lot size that you need to use. Today, the lot size is going to either make you or break you. Thank you, Ian. When is the next Kahoot? The next Kahoot is going to be this Friday, and it's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. I have much more money that I want to give out to you guys. It's going to be at the Oval Office. For those who want to join me for the physical classes, kindly please do so at HFM Oval Office, 5th floor. We are located in Westlands off Ring Road. That's going to be it for me. Take care of yourselves. Let's make that money.